A. So welcome everyone to the monthly community call of GENOA Global Ecovillage Network, Oceania and Asia. This monthly call are hosted by GENOA Network Steward Circle, and we create this space to tighten the connection and also facilitate cross-learning, cross-pollination among members and communities among the network. So I'm really happy to have you here today with us. And before we start, I would love to invite all of us to an attunement so that we can all arrive here and now together. And leading us in the attunement today, I would invite Talea, one of our elders from New Zealand. So Talea, if you can unmute, I'll pass the mic to you.
A tēnā rā koutou katoa. Nā hui mai I te tautoko te kaupapa whakahira I rei tēnei wā. So in my language, I'm just inviting everybody and welcoming everybody into the space. I'm very sorry that I can't put my camera on right now. I'm in a very dodgy space in the middle of the Waipoua forest right now. And I'm very, very grateful to be able to attend this hui tonight, this gathering tonight. I have actually been sent this wonderful reading that I'd like us to attune to tonight by Paul Daly. The dear friend that has sent me this post tonight is a very dear sister that has actually been through quite a lot of community development assignments with me, not only in Aotearoa, but throughout Southeast Asia. So she had sent this to me the other day, which I thought was very timely. And I want to read this to you as a part of our attunement tonight. So if we can all close our eyes and just imagine while we are listening to the words of Paul Daly. And I hope my voice will be okay throughout this time. Kia ora koutou. So here we go. My brain and heart divorced a decade ago over who was to blame about how big of a mess I have become. Eventually, they couldn't be in the same room with each other. And now my head and my heart share custody of me. I stay with my brain during the week and my heart gets me on the weekends. And they never speak to one another. Instead, they give me the same note to pass to each other every week. And the notes say, and the notes that they send to one another always says the same thing. This is all your fault. On Sundays, my heart complains about my head and how it has let me down in the past. And on Wednesdays, my head lists all the times my heart has screwed things up for me in the future. They blame each other for the state of my life. There's been a lot of yelling and a lot of crying. But so lately, I've been spending a lot of time with my gut. And it is my gut who serves as my unofficial therapist most nights. I sneak out of the window in my rib cage and I slide down to my spine. And I collapse on my gut's plush leather chair that always opens for me. And I just sit and sit and sit and sit until the sun comes up. Last evening, my gut asked me if I was having a hard time being caught in between my heart and my head, and I nodded. I said I didn't know if I could live with either of them anymore. My heart is always sad about something that happened yesterday, while my head is always worried about something that may happen tomorrow, I lamented. My gut squeezed my hand. I just can't live with my mistakes of the past or my anxiety about the future, I sighed. But my gut smiled and said, in that case, you should go stay with your lungs for a while. I was confused. The look on my face gave it all away. If you are exhausted about your heart's obsession with the fixed past and your mind's focus on the uncertain future, your lungs are the perfect place for you to reside right now. There is no yesterday in your lungs. There is no tomorrow there either. There is only the now. There is only inhale, ha ki roto, exhale, ha ki waho. There is only this moment. There is only the breath. And in that breath, you can rest a while. You can rest while your heart and head work their relationships out. This morning, while my brain was busy reading tea leaves, and while my heart was staring at my old photographs, I packed a little bag and walked to the door of my lungs. And before I could even knock, she opened the door with a smile and said, with a gust of air, she embraced me and she said, what took you so long? So that family and friends is a beautiful reading from John Rodell and a post from, as I said before, from Paul Daly. And it really spoke to me these last couple of days. So in Aotearoa, New Zealand right now, we're in lockdown. And I am a part of a COVID-19 response for my iwi that span across quite a big rohe or a territory from the Hokianga all the way to Dargaville, which is in the west coast of the far north of the North Island, all the way down to the Kaipara. And it took my breath away these last couple of days to take a step back and also be with my thoughts in terms of my brain and in terms of my heart, and making sure that I too am just taking a breath of the now, a breath of the here, a breath of being present in what we are doing right now in this space, in this place with each other. Nā reira, e ngā haue whā, to you of the four winds of Southeast Asia, the global Ecovillage network of Oceania and Asia, I say to you, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. I welcome you once, I welcome you twice, I welcome you 3 times.
So when you're ready, you can bring yourself back to the room, to the screen, and send gratitude to Talera, who have just walked us through a very beautiful attunement with a reminder that is so important nowadays, I think in all countries over the world in Oceania and Asia. So with that beautiful note, let us begin today. For the flow of the call today, we're gonna have a first part, as usual, of updates about what is happening in the Global Ecovillage Network, in the region. And today we also want to add a little bit of updates from our national networks. And then the majority time of the call today will be a space for us all to join, to share and to learn with each other about the topic of Ecovillage Design Education. So we might not have enough time to go around and get to know each other one by one. So I would invite you to share in the chat an introduction of yourself so that we can still get to know each other a little bit better. So my invitation is that you can write in the chat anything you want to introduce yourself, where you're from, which community or organization you're a part of. You can also share about your involvement in GEN or GENOA or the Ecovillage movement. And if you still have time and space, you can also share an online course that you highly recommend, because the theme of today, it's about Ecovillage education. So let's take a few moments for you to have time to write and put that in the chat. You can see the direction on the screen as well. And you can also do that at any given time during the call today. Later in the part where we're gonna talk about our experience or our will to learn about the EDE, Ecovillage Design Education, we will be in smaller groups. And in these groups, you will also get to have more space to get to know each other, introduce yourself. Okay, so yeah, I invite you to take some time and put your introduction in the chat. And now we're gonna hear a little bit of updates from GEN and GENOA. I introduce you a member of GEN Network Steward Circle, Amina, to share with us about the Hilda Jackson Award. Amina is one of the judge in the award this year.
Thank you, Kim. A very warm, heartfelt welcome to everyone. For a lot of us here, we do already know about the Hilda Jackson Award. The Hilda Jackson Award is named after Hilda Jackson, who is the wife of Ross Jackson. And Ross and Hilda are like our mother and father of the Ecovillage movement in the world. And every year we choose eco-villages from around the world who can receive a humble support from Gaia Trust and Hilda Jackson Award money to further their eco-village cause in the world. So last year, the winner was TI Ecovillage, where I currently live. Right now, though, I'm in Delhi. And this year, we've had about 25 applicants from all around the world, and we recently shortlisted 10. And those were also shared all over our social media websites and links to get a lot of public and network feedback and opinion. Yesterday was our last meeting of the judges, and we have shortlisted the top 3 and also recommended that this year we do the top 4. And so you will soon hear about the winner in the first week of September from GEN International. So this year we had a lot of entries from Asia, and this for me is really exciting, Asia and Oceania, that we have such amazing projects to cherish and to learn from. So Perma Youth from Australia, there was Sonas Village from Cambodia, Kheti Regenerative Agroforest from India, and Green Village Kalukan from the Philippines. And I would highly recommend that you go to our social media sites and look at these and maybe even leave your comments, visit their webpage on the Ecovillage website of GEN, and you can connect with them, learn from them. They're just very, very diverse and beautiful, inspiring projects. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amina, for the updates. And I'm super excited to see the top 3 or 4 of this year. And I'm so super happy to see 4 communities from the GENOA region in the 10 finalists. I think this speaks a lot about how much effort in the region are being put into regeneration work. And next, we have a few updates from Jen as well. So I'm gonna invite Talea to share from the Jen Network Steward Circle, as she was attending the meetings that had just happened last week. Talea, are you still here? maybe Talia has dropped out due to some technical problems. So I'm just gonna go ahead and share this part with you. So the GEN Network Steward Circle comprises of 3 representatives from each region, have a meeting every 3 weeks to talk about the different topics of the Global Ecovillage Network. And in the recent meeting, they have approved 4 new members of the GEN Trustee Board. And GEN will also soon introduce these 4 new members to the network. And you can keep an eye open for the GEN newsletter, also GENOA newsletter, where we will update all this information. And also this weekend, GEN Europe, it's gonna launch their first component of their resilience and regeneration event with the theme of cultivating community from I to we. This is a very rich event comprising not only discussion and webinars, but also celebration, art, songs, connection events as well. So if you're interested, we can send you the link later in the call, and feel free to register and join them. And lastly, on August the 30th, Next Gen, which is the youth body of GEN, is gonna host an online fire chat with GEN Elder. So you can imagine it's like a fire chat where you sit together and share songs, share stories, share experience. So this is gonna be similar like that between the elders of GEN and the young members of GEN. And if you are interested in joining this section, you can put your email in the chat box. Because this activity is not going to be promoted widely. But if you're interested, you can just put your email in the chat, and then I can send you an invitation to it. And that's updates of what has happened and will be happening soon in GEN. For GENOA part, last Saturday, we also had a great opportunity to collaborate with the Earthen Express in India to conduct a webinar on Let's Regenerate Ourselves in India, an Ecovillage approach, in which we have welcomed a lot of members, participants, mostly are young people from India, to have a discussion about the regenerative approach of the Ecovillage movement. We also have a recording of this session available, and we will share this with the network via our newsletter, which are gonna be released very soon at the end of this month. Okay, and so that's about GEN and GENOA. And I would like to also invite some updates from the national networks of GEN. And if you don't know yet, here are the national networks that are officially running in GEN. GENOA. We have GEN Japan, GEN Australia, GEN China, and Next Gen Korea. And we also have people who are brewing the idea of forming GEN National Network in some other countries as well, like India, New Zealand. So let's first hear about GEN Australia, shall we? We have today with us Tanya from GEN Australia. Tanya, are you here and are you ready to share with us some updates from your network?
Yes, I am. Thank you. I am. Just a very simple conversational update from Australia. The main points are that we're having our website overviewed, and a lot of that has been helpful looking at how we're structured, what we actually do, and in a way reviewing our vision. We currently have a very small core team of 3 people, and we are very aware and have been for more than a year that we need more volunteers, and been inspired by watching the work of GENOA and the facilitation that was done using Dragon Dreaming by HEMA. And I'm very grateful to both HEMA and Amina for doing such a workshop for us at Narara recently, which is where I'm a member of, which is just north of Sydney. And the other thing that we're looking at in Australia is certification. And again, it is very early days, but we're aware that people are calling their projects eco-villages when in fact they don't actually meet the criteria. Then we also have, once the website is done, an objective to look at doing a quantitative and qualitative study of eco-villages. And this is because the perception of eco-villages is unfortunately rather derogatory. It's based on hippies from the 1970s, where there was a lot of multiple occupancies on properties and land sharing. And so the next step for Gen Australia is to get some more volunteers to get our house in order, that we'll then do a newsletter which will help the soft launch of the website, and that'll probably be September, October. I do want to let you know that as a result of doing the Ecovillage Design Education online, which I did with Amina, and then I also was blessed to immediately the day after start a 4-week course with Robin Allison, which was sensational and very grounding and practical, because I could see the application to Australia. So Narara is hosting a sociocracy workshop in September, a series of them, an introductory plus intermediate, and then more advanced on dealing with elections. And also very much looking forward to the Dragon Dreaming that GENOA is putting forward. So that's Australia. Thank you very much. I'll put the link for the sociocracy workshop into the chat.
Thank you so much, Tanya. So everyone, if you are interested in knowing more about Gen Australia, feel free to put some question in the chat, and Tanya can also share some links to their website, Facebook, in the chat, so that you can explore further. We can also send after the call as well. So next, I would love to ask Karen, our representative from Gen China, to share the updates of Gen in China. Karen had some difficulties with her microphone at the beginning of the call, so I'm hoping that she has it fixed by now. Karen, are you here, and can you try speaking? Okay, I see that you're unmuted, Karen, but we don't hear you. So maybe your mic is not working yet. Okay. Then I suggest that I'm gonna go forward and share with you about Next Gen Korea first. And then Karen, if the microphone doesn't work, then maybe you can just type in the chat a few bullet points of update with us. And if you can make it work, that would be best. Okay, so earlier you see that in GENOA, we have the national network in Australia, and then we have the only Next Gen national network in Korea. And the folks in Korea cannot join us in this call today, but I would love to share some updates on their behalf. So they have just also finished an EDE, and it's an in-person EDE, which is fantastic news for us, because as you know, since COVID, it has been so difficult to conduct any courses or gathering in person. And this EDE from Next Gen Korea is actually the first in-person one after a very long time, which is why we are super excited about it. And they are writing an article to share about this EDE with us in the next GENOA newsletter. And together with the EDE, the folks in Next Gen Korea, they are residing their office in a province in Korea, and they are working with schools in the region to green up the schools and to conduct activities with kids towards eco-village living and sustainable living. So if you are interested in this topic, I would be happy to connect you with the folks in Next Gen Korea. So that's a very quick update about Next Gen Korea. And now I would love to invite you to hear from Japan. We have today Hiroko from Gen Japan. And yes, Hiroko. Well, Hiroko, you are muted, so we cannot hear you yet.
Hello, I'm Hiroko from Japan, in Japan, and I'd like to say about the new talk session with Mr. Gabriel of GEN International Community Director, with Masashi Ono from GEN Japan, GENOA member. They have the talk about their activities, our activities as one community activities, and also the Japan's ED program, very special, innovative type. And I'll show you one of the photograph of this. Can I share my photograph? Okay.
Yes, Hiroko. Yeah. I just
Thank you.
activate share screen.
Thank you. Here, this was actually this photograph was opening of July meetings of GEN Japan's activities, EDE program. So our EDE is very special and monthly type, 2 nights, 3 days, 6 months and plus alpha, and not long stay, but anyway, 3 days per month, people can meet together. So talking about something, so this session was about sustainable new economy. So, and then next photograph, just a moment. And then here is August. This month was unfortunately we couldn't meet directly. So this month was the first time online session. So, but so we can keep the talk session with all members together like this. So then audience participants meet talking, and then have lectures from another from alternative community currency and so on. So that is very practical for all members. And then another challenge is the open style lecture online, by online, not only the audience, but for public. So we can show our activities to lot of people. So then this is, of course, a kind of advertisement for the next younger generation, and then for the next participants. So then this is our challenges. Then actually now I'm in Tokyo, a little dangerous. I live in Mie Prefecture, the center of Japan, not Tokyo, because today I need to have some meeting for next year. So how can we, GEN Japan, have alternative EDE program? So this was very fruitful with me and other members. Thank you. And then I would like to say thank you very much, GENOA newsletter, Rubin and Tao Kin, and you and so GENOA newsletter introduce our activities using this photograph. This photograph is this again. So then at that time, so younger people joined a lot. A newsletter introduced their quote impression, so very honest impression. Thank you very much. So this is from Japan. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hiroko. And this is really exciting because as you can see, GEN Japan also has recently launched their EDE, and their EDE design different from other EDE as well to match with the context of people in Japan. And this is something that I think later on in the call, we can definitely learn from their experience. So let's hear from Karen. I hope that Karen microphone is okay.
Hello.
Yes, we can
Hello.
hear you.
Great. Great. Finally. Yes. And hello, everyone. This is Karen. My surname is Wang. So you can just call me Karen. I'm from China. And today I'm very glad to share something I know about GEN China. But I'm very sorry. I was quite busy, so I didn't get the time to prepare the PPT or some photos. I will simply introduce something, some history of GEN China. GEN China set up in 2017 in China, Beijing. And at that time, there are around 10 members. They were very, very impressed by the EDE held by Sunshine Ecovillage. And in this EDE, we invited Kosha. And so that I think that is the first time that Chinese people, first time is in 2015, Chinese people heard about Ecovillage, this word. And some people, they are very, very excited. They would like to help with the Ecovillage movement in China. And but because of some reasons, we didn't continually to do some tight actions, or I mean we didn't work continually on GEN China, and the people, most of the members, they left, and because they were not live in the Ecovillage and they have their work. So we hold the second gathering in 2020, and it's we call it eco persons gatherings. And there are around 200 people attended, and there are 50, 60 people are interested in joining GEN China. And we set up the office and the secretary, and we hold some workshops in the EDEs and some trainings. And we started the permaculture Chinese program, and we try to find more people who are interested in the Ecovillage. But right now, the progress or the improvement or the activities are also very slow because of the virus. We couldn't have more workshops, and we couldn't hold EDE in this year, in 2021, 21st. So right now things are goes very slow, but I think in many people's heart, we still have this seed, and I can say it's a slow, because Ecovillage is a process. So we're still going on this way in the process. But right now it's really a little bit slow. And yeah, and this is what I can introduce about the history of Gen China. And if you have any questions, you can ask me or send me a message in the chatting box.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Okay.
Karen.
Thank you.
And thanks for trying different ways to log in with us.
Okay.
Yeah, so you have heard a quick sharing around national networks in GENOA, and as Karen also shared, the networks of Ecovillage around the region are really a process. So there are highs and lows, ups and downs at times, but we, as GENOA, as the regional network, really want to support the activities of forming eco-village, eco-communities, and eco-network around the region by any way that we can. So we would love to hear from you after this call if you have any suggestion, any request for us to do that better. And we always like dance with the flow of community and of the bigger society as well. As life, that's how it is in life, right? So I know that we have heard a lot about the word EDE, Ecovillage Design Education, and I don't know if all of us here know what it is. So I'm gonna run a very quick poll. You're gonna see it show up on the screen of yourself. Yeah, just to know whether you have known about EDE or not. So you can choose whether you was a participant, trainer, organizer. You can also choose multiple answers as well. So let's see what are the different involvement that we have here. Okay, so I see results coming in. There are a lot of people who have been a participant in an EDE. And also a lot of people have no experience but plan to join one. And there are also a few who don't know what an EDE is. Okay, that's great. I see here that we have also 2 trainer, 2 organizer of EDE as well. That's cool, that's great. Okay. So let's just wait for a few more seconds for the others to finish their poll. Right, so I'm gonna print screen this answer and then share with you after. So as I see here, there are actually quite a number of people in our group today who have not experienced an EDE. Also, maybe you have not heard about an EDE. Then I would love to share with you very quickly what it is before we can dive into sharing our experience. Okay. So here you can see on the screen, EDE, it's short for Ecovillage Design Education. It's an educational program that was designed and certified by Gaia Education. It's a sister organization with GEN. They actually coming from one group at the beginning and then becoming 2 organizations afterwards. But actually the curriculum of EDE was developed drawing on experience and expertise of the Ecovillage network throughout 20-25 years of experience from the most successful Ecovillage and transition towns around the world. This Ecovillage Design Education has been running in many countries around the world by certified trainers. So only certified trainers, those who are certified by Gaia Education, can organize and run the courses. And you can see here on the screen, there's the 4D framework, the 4-dimension framework of the EDE. There are social, worldview, which is cultural, ecology, economy. And when you join an EDE, there's also the last element, which is the design element, where you can apply all these 4 dimensions into your community or your project or your work. And this fit with the 5 areas of regeneration that GEN Global Ecovillage Network have developed. With the last design element, it's called whole system design in GEN maps of regeneration. And this EDE provide participants with the system thinking of how to build and sustain communities in a regenerative way. So that's a very quick sharing about what an EDE is. And I think a lot of us here knows better than me what it's the special of an EDE. So I would love to give you the space to share about it. So I'm thinking what we can do now is that we're gonna break into groups. And inside the group, you can have the time to share deeper about your experience with the EDE that you have joined or have facilitated. So I'm gonna share on the screen a few questions. Here are the guiding question. Of course, you don't have to follow it all. So you can share about the experience you had with EDE. And if you have not learned about the EDE or heard about it anywhere, you can also share if you have any similar experience with any design course like that. And what were your highlights or biggest lessons from the EDE or from organizing, hosting an EDE? And also the last question is an optional one, but if you want, you can share how you see EDE being developed more in the region, in GENOA, in the future. So I'm gonna copy this question in the chat a bit later. But the way that we're gonna form groups is that I would love for you to think now whether you are interested in learning, joining an EDE or sharing experience of joining an EDE, or are you interested in learning and sharing experience about hosting or facilitating an EDE? So I think that's the way we can break down the group so that the discussion can be more focused. So those with the interest or the experience of hosting and facilitating an EDE can stay in a group. And those who want to hear about learning, being a participant or have experience of it and want to share can be in a group. I'm gonna let you choose the breakout group freely. So there's gonna be 4 breakout group, 2 group with topic A and 2 group with topic B, and then you can choose yourself which group you want to join. You can also switch group during the whole time. I just also want to make sure that every group have at least 3 members so that we have people to discuss it with. So if you see a group that it's that has too many people, but another group has too little people, you can also thin yourself out within the groups. I'm sure that we can support each other in this. Okay, so before we start, I would like to ask if you have any question about the grouping or about the topic of the sharing. If you have questions, just feel free to unmute and ask. I'm going to show the question again. Okay, no question. Cool. Okay. Oh, sorry, this is not the question. Here is the question. So this is these are just guiding question. Of course, you can share openly, but mostly the aims is that in this group you can support each other, sharing your experience, and so learn from each other about your experience with the EDE, the Ecovillage Design Education. So if there's no question, I'm gonna stop the screen share, and I'm gonna send you the question in the chat so that you will have it there to look at during the whole time. The group discussion is going to be for 20 minutes. And I'm gonna also put a minute at the end for you to wrap it up. Okay. I'm gonna first. So how was your group sharing? Is there any highlights that you find it really fruitful to share to the big group? Please feel free to unmute yourself and share.
I'm Tanya, and
Yes.
in our group, which was Amina, Karen, Zola, and Tapase, we were talking about the different ways of doing Ecovillage education, and it was so interesting to hear that about 6 programs have been run in China. Karen has participated in 2, and that from that each time there's an Ecovillage project that gets going. So that was very inspiring, and I think a really important reason for everybody to continue doing an Ecovillage design education. So that was inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanya. And I can echo that, because from my EDE that I took in 2016, there were also a lot of people coming back and start their projects, start communities. It's really inspiring for most of us. No, I think it's inspiring for all, but it's like life-changing for most of us. Anyone else want to share?
Yeah, I think I can go. In my group, we have Marivich sharing about her experience joining the first online EDE with Jen. And she shared that she went to through the first session of the online EDE was they started from the social dimension, and they spent time to build the community of that group, and also getting into like and the topic is becoming a kind of like more of a personal transformation. And she's something that's interesting that she said that in that EDE the facilitators also shared about how the EDE would look like if it was an in-person gathering, in-person EDE, but then also they have like made some changes, adjustments in facilitating the online experience. And she shared that although it's online, I think she thinks it's still quite effective. And overall, the ED she felt like it was well executed by the organizers and facilitators. And she also shared that in the ED she felt like the main project was kind of like the people themselves, and it's kind of like a personal journey also, and how because they meet every week and it became kind of like a support group of people supporting themselves in their personal transformation. And by the end of the whole journey, everybody was like very interested, have developed deep relationship with each other and can't wait to see each other in real life. So yeah, that's something from our group. And Mariana, if you, Marivich, if you want to add on to that, you can feel free to jump in.
Not much to add. You said it very well. Thank you, Vivian.
Thank you. I think we have quite a number of people in the online EDE in this group, right? So I'm really excited to see that after the EDE, you're still keeping contact and are actively turning your what you learn into reality. That's really cool. Anyone from other group that want to share? Maybe any group that hasn't shared yet. If you don't feel like talking, you can also type. That's always an option. Okay. I think Tanya was from one of the hosting and facilitating group. How about the other group? Do you want to share any highlights from your discussion?
Well, I was in that group, but actually there was only one person out of 4 who had run an EDE in our little group of 4, but the rest of us wanted to bring it to our countries and had other kinds of experience that would help, help support that. I guess one of the questions that came up was, how can we continue to impart that kind of knowledge without having certified teachers in our country? So that was Japan, Bhutan, I think, and New Zealand all have, I don't think that there are any certified teachers in New Zealand, I'm not sure. But yeah, how to, in these days of very, lack of the ability to travel, what are the other options, except online, really. So.
Thank you, Robin. Yeah, and I don't know if Amina shared with you in group 1 maybe, but we also are having a discussion in GENOA of how we can be certified or can run an online EDE with certified trainers. So that's also one thing that led us to an intention of survey the resource and capacities in the network. So those who have become certified trainer can team up with those who haven't, but want to experiment being facilitator and trainer and organizers, and they can do it together. And there are actually many certified trainers in our region. So that's something that we are looking into, and we're also asking Gaia Education on the whole how to get certified question as well. So we would love to share that with you once we have more information of it. Okay. Any other sharing from any other groups? Or if you have question in your group that you didn't have time to raise, you can also raise it here. Yes, Tanya.
I'm curious as to the capacity form that everybody, people filled in. What kind of numbers that you have in the region? That would be really interesting, and to know where those trainers are, if that's possible.
Well, at the moment, I don't have it yet, but I'm going to do a launching of sharing the form with the region. And hopefully in the next months or so, we have a lot of people fill in, and then afterwards we will analyze the results and then share with everyone. That's the plan. I'm actually going to share it a little bit later at the end of the call. Maybe I will share for my group, because my group was about learning, participating, and there was a question of what is the difference between online and in-person EDE, and I think that's a very good question. I have been joining both, so I have joined an in-person EDE, and I have conducted an online EDE, which is the regeneration of GENOA last year, and I think there are a lot of differences, but also there are pros and cons in both. Right. So for me, I think I would always prefer an in-person, but in-person also meaning that people have to fly from all over the place. So the carbon footprint of the course itself is high. And also a lot of things is going to be squeezed in 4 to 5 weeks. So you come back with a very big head, very big heart, and then you have to take time to consume all of that. I don't know if you have the same experience, if you have done that. Maybe Chang also have that experience. And for an online course, I feel like it can be better paced because you can spread it over time. You can take time to do your action learning. But of course, you don't have the in-person contact, which is very beautiful when you are together. So that's what I think. I didn't have time to put it in the text, but I will. Maybe
I
one
would
last
like to
sharing. Yeah.
ask, because In our group, Hiroko shared the desire to localize the program, to have it in local language for Japanese people. And it's the same for us in Vietnam. I would love to have it in Vietnamese. And I wonder if it's possible, if you have ever thought of like doing a hybrid thing. So to have like, for example, having the program in Vietnam, but with international certified trainers connected from afar and local facilitators to support the group. Because even though I really enjoyed my international experience, I would find it much more fruitful to be able to do it in Vietnam, learn it in Vietnamese, and among my friends, maybe with an existing communities here.
I don't know if anyone wants to reply to that before I do. Okay, well, it has been also an idea within our group in Next GENOA to do a hybrid program where you have like local hubs that people stay in one place together. And like they really stay together. It's not like they just gather during the day and go home during the night, but like people in one country or in one local area can stay in one place, and then you have multiple hubs, and then trainers can do it online or in person if you have trainers in person. And then it could be a kind of hybrid program. It also could help with the whole travel restriction and lower carbon footprint. So there has been an idea around that, although it hasn't been picked up yet. And maybe now is the time, I think. And I am also super interested in doing one in Vietnam. So Chang is my friend, so maybe we can talk about it between us. But also just want to note that there are countries that have done their the EDE in their language. For example, the ETA program, the program by Wang Sanit, was done in Wang Sanit Ashram. Is kind of an advanced EDE, and they do it in both language every year. They do it in Thai, and they do one version in English. So I think the idea of localize it is really great because it will reach more people. Also, in the process of localizing EDE, you can also input more examples, practice, trainers of your country, because not every trainer can speak English, right? So, but you are just losing a lot of great speakers, practitioners by doing an English course. So I think the idea of localizing, it's great. And this is something you can certainly explore with the Gaia education if you want to do that in your country, and find a certified trainer in your country as well. And if you don't have one yet, maybe you can become one. So yeah, that's what I think. Maybe just one more sharing before we close, because the time is also almost up. Anyone else want to share something? Okay. So I'm going to, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I just thought that, you know, this has been such a, I think, creative and invigorating process, and so many ideas. Maybe we could think of doing a COP for EDE, right? EDE for GENOA, what it could look like, what could be the variations, what the trainers would look like. Could we have our own certification? Could we also lead non-certified courses? So yeah, I think I'll be keen to participate in a community of practice, developing ideas to really scale Ecovillage education, I would say, right? It could look like anything, like Zola mentioned. A lot of people don't know what eco-villages are, so they could also be called something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, the idea is to share actively and really vigorously as much as we can, wherever we can. And we don't want to limit ourselves by just, you know, having something called the EDE, not discounting that. I think it's one of the most phenomenal courses. If you want to do one, you should. But if we could offer it in bite-sized, localized ways, and we could start talking about how do we do that.
Yes, Tanya.
Can I make a suggestion that a step prior to that might also be an introduction to people about becoming an ambassador? And what does that mean? And what are some of the ways, the passageways into it? Because equally, having as many ambassadors doing different pathways into could be really helpful. And that might be, for example, helping to develop the GENOA EDE or participating in the regen nations. But I think that could be valuable, because the more ambassadors and the more people talking about Ecovillage design, which fits with permaculture, etc., the more I think we're going to be able to attract more ambassadors, more trainers, more EDEs, and therefore more consultants, because there's a screaming need for people to consult about really what is an eco development.
Thanks, Tanya. A call for ambassadors, yeah? I'm gonna put the link in the chat for information about Gen ambassadors, in case you don't know what is Gen ambassadors. And later we also can share a link about what is a community of practice. So this is also an intention in GENOA that we're gonna form a few community of practice under different topics with people who have common interests, and then can share, can develop, can work together to build something out of it. And we are going to launch very soon a community of practice around fundraising. And there's idea about community of practice in education, in emergency, which is coping with disaster and climate change. And also today we also have an intention of doing community of practice on EDE as well. And this is really possible as long as we have people who are really deeply care about this and want to take part in. Thank you, both Amina and Tanya. Great suggestion. Hiroko, you want to share?
Yeah, I'd like to know Deepika-san's idea. So you took Bhutan's Deepika-san, you said you agreed the Amina-san's idea, and then now you would like to say something. So then I'd like to know about your idea, and each local country that we have the different characteristic point. Then so if you have some good idea about that, let me know, please. No?
Hiroko, I didn't get the name that you were.
Lundap-san. Lundap.
Lundap.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, thank
Please,
you.
Lundap.
Thank you. Before that, I would like to maybe propose one suggestion, as Amina pointed out. So my suggestion is, we already have the global Ecovillage education framework. Now, this framework will remain as a global Ecovillage framework. When it comes to implementing the ideas into different countries and different regions, I think it is a good idea to contextualize it. To contextualize it, because your culture is very different, you speak a different language, you have many things are very different, including the geography of the area, the environment, all of these are very different. So I think it makes sense to translate the idea of Ecovillage Design Education into the local languages and contextualize it so that the people at the grassroots level, for example, in Bhutan, most of the people living in the villages do not understand English. And when you want to give examples, you cannot give any international examples because they just cannot make connections to that. So it has to be local examples. So translating the program into their local languages and then contextualizing it with the local environment, I think will greatly help. So, and then another thing I want to ask is, I think generally the Ecovillage Design Education or community that we are talking about is, it gives an information, a message that you have to create a community to be part of the global Ecovillage network. And my personal idea and understanding and experience to that is, it may not be necessary to create a community, but rather how you can influence the community if their way of living or lifestyle is not in accordance with the sustainable development principles. I think that can also can contribute towards the Ecovillage Design Education movement, not necessarily creating a community or a group of people who will come together and live it, but I think the whole idea is how you can influence the entire community in your country so that the maximum people in the country can actually live in a sustainable way. Like in Bhutan, this is exactly what I said earlier, that in Bhutan, what my personal initiative is, I want to influence the education system. And in the education system, we do not call it Ecovillage Design Education because we have a strategy already there, which is called place-based education, which has all the aspects of the Ecovillage Design Education. And then we use different strategies, but the goal is same. The goal is same. At the end, the outcome is that you want everybody to live and understand in a sustainable lifestyle. So this is the end goal of Ecovillage Design Education. But if we should allow different countries, different communities to contextualize it so that the ideas are actually injected into the, especially in the education system, people can understand it. So it's just my idea and how I'm also thinking for my future activities as part of GEN and GENOA. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Linda. For those of you who have been known Linda, he's one of the elders who have been contributing greatly to GENOA as well, and he's from Bhutan. And what he's talking about, we also see in many countries in Asia, and we usually call it Ecovillage transition. Like you don't have to form a new community, but you transitioning an existing community and make it become more regenerative. And I think you have just given us a great idea for a topic of our upcoming call, community call. Would love to follow up on that, Linda, and also love to hear more from you as well. Okay, thank you everyone. I noticed that we are at the time, so thank you so much for still being here. I just have a few slides of next step and follow up to share with you, and that would not take a lot of time. Okay, so as I shared earlier, we have our skills and capacity mapping survey to find out who in our region are interested in doing education, in running EDE, and we will send it to the whole network very soon, hoping that you will take some time to fill in. And also we will want to explore the possibility of online TOD training or creating a COP, a community of practice around this. And another thing is that recently, if you have received GENOA newsletter, you have seen that Hiroko have shared an article about Gen Japan's EDE. Amina's also have shared her experience in an article, and soon we will have an article from Tanya and from Next Gen Korea about their experience with EDE as well. So these are the way that we would love to facilitate more in the future, to have your sharing and share it to the whole network of your lesson learned, of your journey. And that's why we can learn from each other. And you can also find out different way that you can involve more with GENOA as the network, and on the screen are a few of them. So you can join by sharing articles, like I've said. You can also share stories, photos, or videos of your community, because we have a collective photo bank that we would love to receive more materials. You can also become a GEN ambassadors. I'm going to send information about this after the call. And feel free to connect with other communities and Ecovillage in the network. I'm going to send also to you in the follow-up email the link where you can see all the communities in Ecovillage in Genoa that who have registered on GEN database. And if you already have a community on GEN database, then one thing you can do is that there's a new tool on that GEN developed, which is called Ecovillage Impact Assessment, where you can tick, you can do like an exercise to assess how your community is doing in different areas of regeneration. And this is a very fun and meaningful exercise to do it together in a group. And there's also the last thing that I've shared a little bit earlier about our intention of forming new community to practice that we will be sharing with you soon. Yeah, I know that has been a very fruitful and rich section. And thank you for staying. Thank you for joining, sharing. And I hope that this will facilitate more conversation among Genoa so that we can find different ways to collaborate and to develop the network together. I would like to maybe just end the call today by invite you to share one word in the chat box of what do you feel right now? What leaves you at the end of this call together? What is alive in you right now? You try to crystallize it in one word or maybe a few words and then share it in the chat with us. And with that, I also invite everyone, feel free to open your mic and say any last words if you want, or say goodbye to each other. Thank you so much for your participation today, and I look forward to see you next month.
Selamat.
再见，再见。
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Adit kasama.
Hope to see you soon. Bye.
Arigato.
Bye.
Arigato. Oh, びっくり。